video we had just kind of prepared to do a lookup between two tables, and by preparing I mean that whenever you want to do a lookup that involves multiple tables, there can't be an existing relationship if you're going to use the wizard to do it. And we're going to use a lookup wizard, and because of that there cannot be a pre-existing relationship between the two tables, in this case contract and student. And so we broke that relationship, and now we're ready to go into the contract table and do the lookup wizard. So make sure there's no other tables open, and then we're just going to right click here on contract and go to design view. The student field is the field of interest, and I want to go to data type, and I'm going to change it from text to lookup wizard, like that. Now whenever you launch the lookup wizard, it's going to give you a choice. Do you want to use another table or query as the basis for the drop-down list, or do you want to type in the values that you're going to see when you click the drop-down list? We'll come back in a few minutes and do this one, but for our example, student ID information is held in the student table, so we're going to choose the top option. So we choose next. Now it'll list tables, queries, or both, and never hurts to show both, but we know ours is a table, so I'll choose table, and then student is the table of interest, so I choose next. Now once you've made that choice, this left column is just showing the fields that the table has to offer. This over here represents the fields that you actually want to be part of your drop-down list or of your lookup. Now if I want my records to show the student's last name and then first name, then I'm going to add the last name first and then the first name, because that's the order that the columns are going to show in the drop-down list. Whether you choose student ID or not, student ID is going to come along for the ride. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to double click last name, and I'm going to double click first name. Now I didn't choose student ID, as you can clearly see, but when I choose next, now it's going to ask, do you want to sort? And if I want to sort, then I pick from the list, and you'll see student ID is there even though I didn't pick it. And that's because student ID is the actual primary key of the table that we're drawing from, and that's what the basis of the connection between the two tables is student ID. So that student ID field has to come along whether you choose to display it or not. Most of the time you want the last name field to be the sort field. It says ascending, so I don't need to click it. If I click it, then I changed it to descending. So whatever it says is what the sort is going to be. And then if I wanted to do a secondary sort, then I could do that as well. Okay, and then next. Now at this point, this is where you have to decide, do you want the actual student ID to show in the column, or do you want just the last name to show? And although this says recommended, I would suggest just the opposite. If I uncheck this box, now it's going to show the student ID, last name, and first name. When I click the drop-down list, I'm going to see all three, but ultimately the value that's going to display in the table is the student ID, and that really is the field that you want, because that's the field that's being tied between the student and the contract tables. It's the bound column, as we say, and you can adjust the widths of these columns as I'm doing here, kind of on the fly. So I would suggest you uncheck that and then choose next. And now it's going to say, all right, there's three fields to choose from. Which one of these fields is the actual unique identifier? Which is the one that you want to be the basis for storing the data? And student ID is the field that you want, because that's the primary key from the student table linking to the foreign key of the contract table. So I choose next. And then what would you like the label to be? Student ID is fine. Enable data integrity. That means enforce referential integrity. Now cascade deletes I would not recommend, so I'd leave that as restrict delete as it is, and then finish. Now it's going to create the relationships. You say that's fine. Go ahead, save, and now let's test your drop-down list. Go out here to datasheet view, and if you click on any one of these values, it doesn't matter which, you'll see a little drop-down list that you can pick from. And then once you make your ultimate choice, that value then, that student ID value is what sticks in the table. So that's how you create a lookup.